Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. We've put this video off long enough. It's time we dive straight into talking about Blackbeard's Body. And there's a lot of body to cover, alright? Not in that way. Although, well, I don't really know how my videos go. I don't script these, so it might go down that tangent path at some point, but we'll see. Alright, so Blackbeard is an interesting fellow. I think most people can admit that. Marco said it himself at Marineford. That guy has an unusual body type, okay? Just the fact that he's able to eat 2 devil fruits and not explode, as is what is apparently supposed to happen when you eat more than 1 devil fruit, like if you're a regular human or animal. Although, to be fair, I'm just throwing that out there, and I made a video about that. We've yet to actually see that happen in the story. Yeah, they talked about it at, Ennie's lobby, like Blue and O mentioned it. He's like, oh yes, the scientists on the Grand Line have known what happens when somebody eats more than 1 devil fruit for quite some time, and it's that your body literally explodes out, and, the fruits both leave and are reincarnated, okay? I'm certain that has definitely been tested before. I mean, if you live in a world with magical fruits that give you superpowers when you eat them, and this is like devil fruits have not just existed for a couple of months. They've been around for centuries and centuries and centuries. So eventually, at some point, somebody got it in their head of like, let's see what happens when we eat 2. We've yet to actually see it happen. But with Blackbeard, at any rate, he's able to consume 2. Blackbeard was on the Whitebeard crew for years, ever since he was 12 years old. He was 38 when he, attacked at Marineford and consumed the Gura Gura no Mi, so he had 2 there. And so Marco would have known about his body, I mean, that sounds kind of wrong, but, Marco would have known because he's been living with Blackbeard for years and years, for decades, because Marco was on the crew well before Blackbeard joined, okay? Now, there's some interesting things about Blackbeard I wanted to bring up just to start. There are a few inconsistencies with his personality. If you just read this story at every place that Blackbeard appears and the actions that he does, you could either say that, well, he's a really good actor, so, he's really this scheming Machiavellian genius, and he's just like, this is my master plan to take over the world, say ha ha ha, but when he's around people he wants to fool, he pretends to be nice. Like, he was on the Whitebeard crew for decades. We saw that flashback with him and Ace. He's eating the pie and he's talking to Ace, and he's just like, Ace, I'm on the 2nd division, but I don't want to be the division commander. You should be the division commander. It's been vacant for quite some time now. So yeah, you could just say that. You could just say, oh, he's, normally pretty evil, and he's this schemer, but he's really good at acting. Okay. But there's not just that kind of inconsistency. There's also the inconsistencies of like, all right, Blackbeard's apparently this really smart guy that has all these like layers of this plan, like I'm going to go on Whitebeard's crew and then I'm going to find this particular devil fruit, the Yami Yami no Mi, and I'm going to play the long game here. It could be years until I get my hands on that fruit, but he finally got his hands on that fruit. He committed, treason. He committed murder by, off and off Thatch to get the fruit. He escaped the Whitebeard crew. He built up his own crew. This master plan to infiltrate the warlords and to get into Marineford and get Whitebeards. All this master stuff he's planning. And yet, every now and then he does monumentally stupid stuff like, hey, there's Magellan walking right toward us. Okay, let's just walk toward him because he'll definitely have a talk with us or he'll just let us through, not realizing the fact, oh yeah, he's got giant poison dragons that can engulf us and just, they would have died right there. No debate, really. Like, the poison was affecting them. They were on the freaking ground. They were passing out. They were struggling to breathe from the poison. If it wasn't for Shiryu arriving and giving them that antidote, they would have died. There's really no other way. I mean, at least, like, okay, Blackbeard, like I said, weird body, and we're going to get into that in a second, exactly what that entails. So maybe that's a little bit up in the air if Blackbeard would have died. But when it comes to, like, the rest of his crew, like Burgess and Augur and everybody, they would have died if they didn't get the antidote there, okay? So that was just lucky, if nothing else. So, the theory goes, and this is something that's been talked about for years now, that Blackbeard somehow has more than one soul inside of his body. Soul power! But no, it's like more than one being inhabiting the same body, okay? And this is even given further belief because in the last chapter, 966, when we get that flashback with Odin and Whitebeard and Roger, you see Blackbeard there, and it's mentioned by Shanks and Buggy that he does not apparently need to sleep. All right? They were fighting on this island, the Roger and Whitebeard crews, for like 3 days straight. And they mention, Buggy mentions to Shanks, like, that guy didn't sleep all those days. And then they had a few days after that where they had like a truce where they were hanging out, like doing a gift exchange, as Rayleigh put it. And even then, not sleeping at all. It's like, okay, so he's able to consume more than one devil fruit, something that apparently was only like a one body, one soul, one fruit kind of deal. And he's also unable to sleep. We don't know if he's unable to sleep or if he just chooses not to sleep. Or if, for example, if there is more than one soul in his body, then that soul can sleep while the other one stays active, and they can just keep switching, which might explain the differences of personality, where there's like a conniving, ingenious Machiavellian schemer kind of Blackbeard that has this master plan laid out exactly what to do. All right, and that's one personality. Then there's another personality that's a little bit more reckless, that does things just a little bit more, is like, yeah, let's go fight Magellan, oh crap, without maybe thinking things through, a little bit more of a direct kind of fighter. And then there's one that's a little bit more, at least, either one that's good at acting or pretending to be nice, or one that is genuinely a little bit more kind-hearted, and that was the one that, showed its face mostly while he was on the Whitebeard crew and, palling around with everybody on that crew there. Okay? The reason I'm picking 3 specifically, even though he's only had 2 devil fruits so far, is because of the Jolly Roger of the Blackbeard crew. It's got 3 heads, and this has been looked at and analyzed so much over the years. It's like, why 3 skulls specifically? Is it just supposed to look cool, or is there a reason behind it? Because this is Oda we're talking about, there's probably a significant reason why there's 3 skulls specifically. This is where the Cerberus theory comes from, that he ate a devil fruit that was like the mythical Cerberus zone that turns him into a 3-headed dog, so he's allowed to eat 3 devil fruits, or plus the Cerberus fruit, he can eat 2 others. Honestly, it's looking to me now that I'm just looking at this new information with the sleeping thing, I don't really go with the Cerberus theory too much, but the idea that he has more than one soul in his body, that's making a lot more sense to me, okay? It kind of reminds me of, it's not the exact same thing, because this is more of a multiple personality sort of deal, but it reminds me of Sensui from Yu Yu Hakusho. Sensui was this villain that had like 7 different personalities in him, but it was because of those 7 different personalities he was able to do a bunch of stuff that most people couldn't. Like, there's this special kind of energy in Yu Yu Hakusho that takes like 40 or 50 years to master, and Sensui's not that old, but because he had 7 different personalities, he could like divide that down to like less time. So it's sort of something like that, maybe, where, yeah, not multiple personalities, but like different souls in his body, so he doesn't need to sleep, because it's like, okay, this other, not other personality, but this other soul inside of me is sleeping 8 hours while this other one comes out, and then you're just kind of rotating these around, and then you just don't need to sleep after that. Also, keep in mind, Blackbeard feels pain tremendously more than a normal human does, okay? This actually gives the false impression that he is weak. He is not weak. It's just that he feels pain on, like, in an insane degree. Like, just a prick of, like, a needle on an arm would just intense pain there. So just imagine what it was like whenever, like, Ace was setting him on fire at Bonaro Island. He was throwing fire spears at him, and, the Hiken and Blackbeard's on the ground, and his clothes are fire, and he's just like, oh my god, it's unbelievably hot! Oh, okay, I'm good. So he gets back up, and he's like, alright, I'm good now, alright? But that didn't, like, weaken him to the point where he's on the ground, defeated or anything like that, which you'd think, like, if he felt that much pain, why isn't he suffering that much damage? Well, what if he's feeling the pain of 3 people combined as one? Alright, so it's like he's feeling the pain of 3 different people at once, so amplified by 3, but it also goes along with his other stats too, like, endurance. So, yeah, he feels the pain, but it doesn't really hurt him all that much because he also has the strength and endurance and stamina of also 3 people. So he can get back up and brush it off relatively easy. It's just it really freaking hurts whenever he feels pain. His strength is also something, like, Blackbeard doesn't, like, physically, like, fight too much, especially now that he's got the Yami Yami no Mi and the Gura Gura no Mi, but we did see some physical prowess whenever he was fighting Ace, because he used his black vortex to draw Ace in, nullify his devil fruit powers. He grabbed Ace, you know, just the grip alone, you know, he's like a strong enough to grip to hold on to Ace, and then he took his fist and then boom, smacked it right into his neck, and Ace managed to break free and, you know, get some distance between them, but Ace is sitting there and he's like, holy crap, he almost broke my freaking neck. Now look, I know this is anime and manga, okay, and you could have characters that are like, you know, pretty skinny and scrawny. Like, if I was an anime character, I might have the ability to punch a mountain in half. You just never know, because it's fiction, okay? But if you're just gonna look side by side at Porcus D. Ace, you know, rippling 8-pack muscles, you know, and then Marshall D. Teach, kind of a potbelly thing going on here, and scrawny little arms, if you're gonna look at these two and say, which one is physically stronger, I would go with Ace, you know. I wouldn't pick out Teach as being a physically strong fighter, but according to Ace, you know, just one solid hit right there, it felt like his neck was about to get broken. And, you know, Ace has got some neck muscles. Dude works out, all right? Plus, he's a lot younger, okay? So he's more of like his physical peak rather than, you know, Blackbeard, who's like in his late 30s, so he's not exactly in his prime of youth at like where he would have been, right? So, yeah, that's something else, a little weird. There was also something that was brought up by Luffy during Drum Island, and this could be, I think when Luffy brought it up, it was meant to just be a joke, but this is Oda once again, so it might have been an interesting foreshadowing. And also keep in mind, Drum Island was also the arc where Blackbeard was, well, he wasn't introduced, we didn't see Blackbeard during Drum Island, but he was first mentioned during the Drum Island arc, because that was the whole reason that Wapol left, was because Blackbeard arrived, and the Wapol's just like, screw that, I'm out of here, and he left, and, you know, a few months before the Straw Hats arrived, okay? But anyway, yeah, Sanji and Luffy are just kind of BSing. They're just running up the mountain with Nami, trying to get to the Drum Rockies to get up to the castle to get Dr. Kureha to, you know, cure Nami. And this Lopin is, like, attacking them off to the side, but they don't really care about it. They just jump over it and just avoid its attacks. And Luffy is just talking to Sanji, like, hey, Sanji, you know, did you hear that in snowy countries people don't sleep? And Sanji's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And jump over the Lopin. He's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you think that? And he's like, well, you know, because if they fall asleep, then they'd freeze to death. And Sanji's like, uh-huh, okay, who told you that shit? You know, Usopp. And Luffy's like, oh, no, somebody in a bar told me it a while ago. And he's like, uh-huh, well, then why did Dalton have a bed in his house? And Luffy's like, oh, I guess it's there when he dies. He's like, that's morbid. So that was played off more as a joke, like, they're being attacked by this, like, deadly, like, ravenous, like, rabbit, and they're just avoiding it and just jumping around while just having a meaningless conversation. And I think even Sanji went on to bring up another thing, is like, oh yeah, do you know why women in snowy countries have such beautiful skin? Because they rub it constantly to stay warm. So it was meant to be just a joke there, but Oda does do that stuff where he sets up things as jokes or lies, especially with Usopp, and then later on the story they actually happen. Maybe not in the exact way they happen, like the way Usopp phrases it, but they do end up happening in some way, shape, or form. Not always, but it has happened before, like with Usopp talking about the giant goldfish, and they do eventually end up fighting a giant goldfish at the end of Little Garden, okay? So, yeah. Now, you know, the whole thing that Luffy brought up, like, oh, people in snowy countries, they don't sleep. Obviously, that's ridiculous. You know, all the people, like, Drum Island citizens do it, like Dalton and Kureha, they do, in fact, sleep, okay? So that part's just, like, a joke. But Luffy, let's think about this. Where did Luffy hear that originally? Some guy in a bar told him. Well, Luffy grew up in Fuchsia Village, and he would always hang out at Makino's, you know, bar, Party's bar. He would always hang out there. You know, when he was a little kid, Makino gave him some orange juice, and he would sit there and just listen to the stories that the travelers came in. Specifically, Shanks and the Red Hair Crew. Shanks, the guy that has the scar on his face that was given to him by Blackbeard. So it's not entirely impossible that when Luffy was a little kid hanging out in the bar and the Red Hair Crew stopped by for, I think it was a year that this Red Hair Crew stayed at Fuchsia, and maybe they wouldn't have told Luffy, like, every little particular about it, but maybe because Luffy's, like, 7 years old, they told him, like, a ghost story, you know? Like, maybe Yasop or somebody was there, and he was just like, hey, Luffy, did you hear? There's monsters in the world that don't need to sleep. And, like, little Luffy would be like, whoa, they're monsters that don't sleep? Ooh, you know, something like that, right? It might have been based off something, though, they actually did encounter, right? Let's talk about that. Shanks ended up getting cut by Blackbeard. Blackbeard had these like Wolverine claws kind of attachments on his arms before he got devil fruits. That's how he would fight when he was on Whitebeard's crew. And at one point during the story, apparently it was not this encounter specifically that, you know, we are in the flashback right now when the Roger crew and the Whitebeard crew clash and we find out about like the last island in the Grand Line. It wasn't this particular battle. That was apparently the first time that Blackbeard and Shanks met each other, but that wasn't the battle where Shanks got the scar. It happened later. You know, could have only happened. It might have happened, later on that same year, before Roger died, or it could have happened when after Roger died and Shanks was building up his own crew. We just don't know yet. But at one point, yeah, Blackbeard managed to get that scar on Shanks' eye. So when Shanks was explaining this to Whitebeard, though, he's like, I did not get this scar by being careless. Okay, so this is not an example of, like, you know, Shanks on the battlefield not paying attention, like, hey, you know, watch your six, Shanks, huh? Blackbeard, why? You know, this is Shanks we're talking about here, okay? He knows his way around a battlefield. He was literally a member of the Pirate King's crew at, like, age 9. Probably younger than that, okay? But we have no idea when they joined. We just know that Buggy and Shanks were on Roger's crew at the age of 9, okay? And they were the Battle of Ed War with Shiki, all these crazy powerful pirates when they were just little kids, okay? So Shanks really knows his way around a battlefield. He knows how to fight. He's got his sword, he's got hockey, trained by Roger and Rayleigh and Scopper Gabon, you know, these great warriors that taught them how to fight. You know, well, we know how Buggy turned out, but Shanks is a really great warrior, right? So it's not an incident of Shanks just not paying attention on the battlefield, like Shanks is busy fighting someone else, then Blackbeard just runs up and just shings like, ha ha ha, and then Blackbeard just hauls ass away. He's like, damn you, Blackbeard! You know, no, this was something different. Shanks specified that, you know, where... We don't know the whole circumstances, we have no idea, but if it's possible that you have like 3 different, you know, souls in the body or something, is it entirely impossible? Let me throw out this scenario here. Let's say Shanks was fighting Blackbeard at one point. Shanks knocked him down, sliced him up or whatever, and he has him dead to rights. Like, Shanks cuts down Blackbeard, he falls, he's on the ground, he's bleeding out, and Shanks is looking at him, and he's got this wound that's just gushing blood, and he's like, it hurts, it hurts, And then Shanks is just like, he's dead, you know, I cut him down, I killed him. And then, as he goes to turn away, when he's absolutely certain that Blackbeard's dead, like he's like his heart has stopped, everything's like, all right, he's dead, it's over. Shanks turns around and then Blackbeard's like, ha ha, shing, and then that I think would qualify with Shanks not being careless. Shanks slicing him down and being like, okay, well, I sliced him down and I could have sworn by all metrics that this guy was dead, but he somehow just sprang back from the dead into life and then sliced my face across. Like, I was not careless. He was dead. I was confident, 100%. This guy is weird. You need to, that was the whole reason he was talking to Whitebeard about it. It's like, you need to bring Ace back. This guy is, you can't underestimate him by the slightest, okay, if he's able to do stuff like that. Now, that's just my own theory. You know, like, maybe he's like maybe he had more than 3 back then. Maybe he had 4. Maybe Shanks killed one. We have no idea what the limits of this are. If he already has the ability to store 2 devil fruits inside of his body, and we could go along the lines of saying he has 2 souls, and he has the Jolly Roger, which has 3 skulls. It's like, okay, let's say he has 3 souls in his body, but he might have had more back in the day. He might just have, like, extra lives, okay? He might have had 4 or 5 or 6. He might have died several times. We have no idea. And because he has so many people living inside of him, then his healing factor, because Wolverine claws, he uses Wolverine claws and he's got a healing factor. There we go. But, you know, healing would also be a lot, you know, faster too, and maybe a lot more efficient. So even if Shanks did, like, slice him down and he had this huge gash on his chest and he was bleeding out, maybe it killed off one of his lives and he got up and he slashed Shanks and he retreated and then he healed up with his, like, extra lives and stuff. I'm realizing, you know what this is? Actually, now that I'm describing this, I was gonna make a Horcrux joke from Harry Potter, but you know what this makes more sense of what this is? The homunculi from Full Metal Alchemist. Oh, I'm sorry. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood! Alright, that's what this is! where you have like a philosopher's stone, which all a philosopher's stone is you just, I keep saying a philosopher's stone, a falafel stone gets made by taking a bunch of bodies together and just basically melting them down and storing them in a stone, and they basically just serve as extra lives. So whenever you do really like hard, like high octane alchemy, you could just burn up a body in the philosopher's stone and you don't have to worry about your own body getting damaged from the alchemy. Or if you die, you can use this to come back to life, as the homunculi do, okay? Like lust and envy and everybody. It's just extra lives, like in a video game, right? So I mean, that might be kind of what Blackbeard has, where it's just like, I need to sleep, I'll let another soul do that. If I get seriously injured, well, it'll hurt like hell, but it'll heal a lot faster, and I really won't feel, I could stand back up and keep fighting because of all the levels of endurance I have in my souls, okay? I'm saying souls because I don't think this is like a multiple personality thing. I think it runs deeper than that, and we know souls exist in One Piece, you know, because of Brook and because of Big Mom and everything and her abilities. That's set up for that. So, yeah. Now, the bigger question is how? How would, you know, his existence come into being with, like, this one body with multiple souls inside of it? How would that work? There's a prominent theory that I believe in, personally, that Blackbeard is connected to Rocks in some way, so maybe that's the reason. Maybe Rocks had some ability, some power that allowed him to store souls, and then, let's say if Blackbeard is his son, maybe he had that ability too. Something made Rocks so terrifying, we just don't know what it was, but the way Garp talked about him was like, no, Rocks was this absolutely terrifying pirate, this force that Roger and himself, Garp, had to team up in order to defeat. So, yeah, if Rocks had some ability that allowed him to keep coming back from the dead or reincarnate himself or something like that, or transfer life force energy, I would definitely consider that pretty damn powerful. I mean, yeah, that's kind of getting into territories of the soul fruit there, but we've seen devil fruits that have similar abilities, like Brook's fruit involves soul power, and Big Mom's also involves souls. So you can have more than one devil fruit that overlaps with like the theme of the power. It's just they can't have the exact same ability, right? So like we for example, we didn't see Big Mom do anything like that. Like Big Mom was able to like suck out life force from people, but we didn't actually know if like she can add that life force to herself. Like she's a Shinigami from Death Note. Like Big Mom, let's say she ripped out 40 years of somebody, she could add that on to her own life, you know, so she lives 40 years longer. We didn't see that. If Big Mom dies, could she use another soul to resurrect herself? We didn't see that. That didn't seem to be like the function of the soul fruit. Not the same thing. It seemed more like ripping souls out of things and throwing them into inanimate objects and reanimating them as homies and stuff and using them as power and stuff. We didn't really get to see it as like extending her own life or resurrecting herself. So there might be another devil fruit power out there that does give you that ability to resurrect, you know, with using souls, like other people's life force, not resurrecting the same way that Brook does it, but like literally stealing someone other's life force or someone else's soul for the sole purpose of coming back. Once again, though, I'm just grasping at straws at this point, okay? We have no idea the circumstances behind Blackbeard's birth, or how he's able to have two devil fruits, or how he's be able to not sleep. We just, and then we have no idea what the significance of the Jolly Roger is, but it seems like Oda is giving us more and more pieces of this puzzle as we go along. So, yeah, leave your theories below on how Blackbeard, like, has these abilities, what were the circumstances of his birth, you know, if being connected to Rocks means anything to this. But yeah, for right now, I'm gonna go along with that idea. You know, right now I'm gonna go in the camp of, like, he has more than one soul in his body, and the souls are all working together for this master plan that he has. That might be another reason why Blackbeard, despite the fact that, yeah, sometimes he acts kind of like an idiot, sort of more like, you know, just recklessly, he was able to get as far as he was now. Alright, because he has all these different personalities helping him out inside of him. So let me know what you think about that. Thanks for watching. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Merry Christmas Eve. Everybody. Merry Christmas Eve, Barry. It's the happiest time of year.